soil tests. Are we going to start seeing building in the San Jose area?
We hope we'll be building there in a couple of years. Right now we're doing testing to help us with the environmental and engineering decisions we have to make about how to come into San Jose, whether on the ground or up above the ground on a viaduct.
So, and meanwhile in the Central Valley, you guys have been building like crazy.
It's $3 billion of construction, 1,700 workers, 17 job sites, a lot of stuff going on in the Central Valley, building the spinal part of America's first high-speed rail system.
And at the same time, costs have risen.
Costs have gone up for the Central Valley segment, mostly because of right-of-way acquisition, the need to move utility lines, and railroad intrusion barriers. Some of those costs we think we'll be able to push a little bit back down. We think we'll be able to avoid those kind of cost increases as we build out the rest of the system.
Well, but realistically, I mean, there's no project in California now, whether it be the Bay Bridge or anything big that comes in, anywhere near the estimated costs initially.
Well, I think our record has been that when we see the costs, we report what we see to people. So we've not been hiding that. We came in several years ago and said it's going to cost more than the voters thought. This time we just said, look, we're looking at our current trajectory and it's higher. We're budgeting a higher amount. We're going to be trying to manage those costs down. And we'll continue to be forthright about that and manage it as hard as we can.
Well, let's talk about some of the reality here.
Okay.
First part is, what are we going to get out of it? Now, I understand that you've already committed money to electrify the rail lines between San Jose and San Francisco. So we're going to get an electric high-speed rail out of this?
You're getting an electric high-speed rail out of this no matter what. An electric Caltrain out of this no matter what. That construction's underway. Those electrified Caltrain services should start within 4 years. High-speed rail is also funding things like the Central Subway construction, the BART car rehabilitation. A lot of that stuff's coming from our monies. And
How does BART cars come out of your money?
Because the bond measure in 2008 had provisions in it for another $1 billion for connected systems. So BART got about $150 million for the BART cars out of the high-speed rail bond money.
BART gets its money from everywhere.
We try.
Oh my God! I mean, every time I turn around, they're getting $100 million here, $100 million there. How many times am I going to pay for that system? But so BART money.
So with high-speed rail money,
what else what other goodies are out there falling off the train as you guys build?
Well, I'll tell you, I know that people in the Bay Area don't spend a lot of time in the Central Valley, but what's happening there is we're building an entirely new rail line. It's going to free up freight rail capacity. There are 50 places where we're building overcrosses and underpasses to take out the driving across the railroad tracks, which is very dangerous. There's an enormous amount of construction going on down there, and we want that to be marching towards the Bay Area so that we can first connect the Central Valley to Silicon Valley.
If you connect, let's say, the southern part of the Central Valley and a high-speed rail like this to Stockton, and then you had the ACE train coming into the Bay Area, you would, in effect, create a whole new commuter system.
There's a whole new rail network being built in California, and it's going to be very important not only to alleviate the housing crisis in Silicon Valley, but to go the other way, to allow them to invest in facilities in the Central Valley, which is in need of it.
So if Jerry Brown, he's going to be moving on, and with him, there goes your patron saint of high-speed rail.
Well, I would say there goes America's greatest infrastructure advocate, but that doesn't mean that we won't have further advocates in the future.
Well, I looked at the gubernatorial candidates, and I'm not sure you have a real winner on that team.
Well, first of all, let me just say that we've reached out to all of them. A lot of them have reached out to us.
The point being is that if it stopped or if it slowed down, what would we as California still get out of it?
I don't think that's going to happen, but if it did, you would have electrified Caltrain, you would have improved local services, you would have better passenger and freight rail in the Central Valley, higher public safety, and you would have connections to things like ACE train. But I think that when you'll see our business plan coming out, we have a pathway to get there to build this thing. Is it going to be harder? Is it going to be more expensive? Is it going to take longer? Yes. Do we do things like this in California? We do. Okay. Well, Dan Richards, I want to thank you for joining us this morning. We'll keep an eye on that. And it could be the commuter train to Stockton. It will be more than that, Phil. All right. Right now we're going to go out.